The media is not here to help you understand the housing market. It's here to sell your attention to advertisers. That's why so many people get scared, confused, or overly excited by headlines that don't really apply to them. They'll see one stat about the Canadian housing market and suddenly think they've got to buy right now, or that they've already missed their chance. And I get this question constantly. What's going to happen tomorrow? And every time it's coming from someone who just read a bold headline or saw a scary chart and took it as a prediction, when really it's just a snapshot pulled out of context. The truth is, real estate doesn't move on headlines. It moves on micro markets, personal timelines, and very specific product types, stuff that you'll never hear about in a national average. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to actually interpret the information you're seeing, including a real RBC economics report that looks pretty concerning at first glance, and help you understand why those numbers don't always mean what you think. That sounds good. Let's get into it right now.
You only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right.
Worth mentioning, my name's Darin, a real estate professional based right here in White Rock and South Surrey, and I've been helping families buy and sell here all the way back since 2007. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of would-be home buyers over the years, many of who found me right here on this very YouTube channel. So if you're seriously thinking about making a move and want some smart local advice with zero pressure, just real insight, there's a link below in the description of this video to book a time with me or my team. And together we'll help you make the right move with confidence. Okay, so let's take a look at this RBC economics report that's been making the rounds recently. It talks about home resales in Canada dropping another 3% in 2026. Prices softening, higher interest rates continuing to weigh on demand. Now, at a glance, it's the kind of thing that makes people stop in their tracks and go, wait, should I even be thinking about buying right now? And honestly, that reaction makes complete sense. If I were reading this without any context, I'd probably feel the same way about it. But here's the thing, this isn't wrong information. It's just broad information. It's national. It's average. And not just that, it's not written for you. It's written for headlines. The average home in Canada doesn't actually exist. Neither does the average buyer. You're not buying a Canadian house. You're buying one specific property in one specific neighborhood in one specific market. And none of that nuance shows up in a line graph on page 2. It's kind of like this. The national news says Canada's dealing with subarctic conditions. Toronto is buried in snow. It's minus 15 degrees and the country looks frozen. But here in White Rock, it's 10 degrees outside. It's sunny. It feels like spring is coming 8 weeks early. Same country, completely different climate. And real estate, well, it works the same way. The average national forecast doesn't tell you what's actually happening on your street. So when a report says sales are down, you have to ask yourself, where? For what type of property and over what timeline? Because even when you zoom in, even just neighborhood to neighborhood, the story completely changes. Some areas are stable, some are heating up, and some property types are falling while others are actually climbing. And that's what the headlines miss. They give you the emotion, but not the context. And that lack of context is exactly what fuels the biggest question that I get over and over and over. And that question is, what's going to happen tomorrow? These people want me to make a prediction on the future. People see a bold or scary chart or headline or a market forecast from a big bank, and they immediately want a prediction, something solid to react to. And I get it. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but there is a way we can call out some of this and a way that we can combat it. Before we get into that, however, a quick heads up. If you're planning to buy a home this year, there's free money available. We're talking about municipal, provincial, and federal grants and incentives. Whether you're buying, renovating, or just trying to tap into programs that most people don't even know exist, we've pulled together everything we could find from links, quick summaries, and key details and put them all in one place so you can make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table. You'll find the link in the description below. It's totally free, super easy to use, and worth checking out if you like free money. Okay, back to the video. So what can we do to confront this challenge of having broad data, and how do we respond to it? Well, to start, I want to arm you with 3 labels that might help make sense of everything. Instead of stepping back to really consider what they are reading or being fed, people tend to grab on to whatever feels the most immediate or emotionally intense. And that's called availability bias. It's where your brain prioritizes whatever's freshest in your mind, not necessarily what's most accurate or are the most useful. But after dealing with availability bias, it also gets layered with something called confirmation bias. And confirmation bias is where people interpret that headline as proof of what they already believe. If you're nervous about the market, you'll notice every negative stat. If you're hoping for a deal, one softening price headline feels like a green light. And on top of that, we've also got one more bias called negativity bias, and it's just human. Bad news sticks harder. In fact, this is an easy one to relate to because we know as you were scouring YouTube how many of the headlines and how many of the images of the videos that you could have clicked on were all negative, trying to grab your attention. One scary article can cancel out 5 months of good data because fear hits louder than stability. These three biases are how people end up making emotional decisions based on national noise instead of looking at their actual strategy. Let me put this into a little bit of context here. Take 2025, for example, the entire year. Some areas of BC, especially parts of the Lower Mainland, saw prices trending downward. In fact, the Lower Mainland was actually down about 7.1% as of December year over year. We had noticeable price adjustments in certain markets, but if you only looked at province-wide stats, you would assume the whole province was softening as it was reported. BC, as it was reported, was down as a whole 5.6% in price. But what those headlines don't show is that other parts of BC actually went up in price last year, and in some cases by quite a bit. Take the Okanagan, for example, which saw a 5.9% growth in prices year over year. The provincial data in this case by what was happening in the Lower Mainland, because that's where the bulk of transactions were happening. But that doesn't mean it reflects what's happening in places like Vancouver Island, the interior, or smaller local markets. And that's why you want to spend so much time digging into your goals and your own personal situation before even ever talking about data. Because when you're clear on what you want, what you need, and what your timeline actually looks like, the stats become a tool and not a threat. And that's the key here. Your decision shouldn't be based on things like provincial averages or national headlines. It should be based on your market, your timeline, and your goals. That's why our team spends a lot of time looking at what's actually happening on the ground in the specific neighborhood, price range, and property type that our clients are buying and selling in. Because while national reports can hit at a general trend, they can't tell you that a 2-bedroom townhome in Clayton is selling in under 14 days, or that detached homes in South Surrey just saw a $25,000 price bump over the last quarter. They don't show you when a particular product type is getting less competition or when a seller is likely to accept terms they wouldn't have touched a year ago. But I can show you that using back-end tools that break it all down by neighborhood, property type, price bands, days on market, absorption rates, and even where buyer activity is rising before prices catch up. Take this graph as an example. This isn't general homes across the Fraser Valley. This isn't detached homes in the entire South Surrey and White Rock area. This is specific to detached homes in the very small niche area of 5.6 square kilometers in the actual city of White Rock. That is useful data. That is the type of data that helps you make better decisions. And getting good data like this isn't just limited to prices. You can get things like, what are the chances that homes have selling in a particular neighborhood? So as an example, this is White Rock, and currently for the month of December 2025, there was a 4.4% chance that a home would actually sell. This also gives us an idea of what kind of market condition we are actually in and who that might favor. We can also see things like, what are the days on market in a particular neighborhood? As you can see, 78 days for a detached home, for detached homes in the city of White Rock. And one of the fun ones that we can see is also exactly how much people are actually negotiating off list price. What is the reality out there for what people are getting? And we can do this in specific areas for specific types of homes. We can drill down as far as we want to. That's the kind of information that actually helps you make a smart move, not just what's the market doing, but what's happening where you want to live for the kind of property that you actually want. So you've been feeling overwhelmed by the headlines. You're not alone, and you're not wrong to be cautious, but the key is knowing what to pay attention to and, more importantly, what to ignore, because the media isn't built to help you make decisions. It's built to to keep you clicking. And even the most well meaning economic reports don't know your goals, your timeline, or your financial situation. That's why this process has to start with you, not with what the news says might happen next. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe. And if you've seen a headline lately that had you second guessing your plans, drop it in the comments and I'd love to unpack it with you. And furthermore, if you're interested in the psychology behind buying and selling a home, in fact, some of these things we mentioned in this video today, but we're going to unpack them a lot more. The real life mindset shifts and decision traps that people run into all the time. We've got a video coming out very soon on this channel that dives deep into that with practical advice that you can actually use. Because in the end, this isn't about timing the market. It's about making a decision that you won't regret, even when the headlines change. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.